Sundogs, they should be sun-victed.
For weeks, Mark D'Amato waged war against Posse and Suzanne Chalene, and now he's won. But 4 victories in a row, including a last-second triumph against the Enforcers, shows the Sundog pack still has the will to win. One thing's for sure, it's gonna get ugly. It's the Florida Sundogs battling their arch-enemies, the New York Enforcers, tonight on Roller Jam.
From Orlando, Florida, and Universal Studios, the home of the World Skating League, a marquee matchup. The elite of the WSL, the New York Enforcers, take the track against the Florida Sundogs. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Roller Jam Arena. I'm Ken Resnick, along with Lee Rehrman and roller derby legend Buddy Atkinson Jr. For the Florida Sundogs, they have overcome more adversity, in fact, that we would even have time to mention if we were going to take you through it from A to Z. And Lee Rehrman from the Enforcers, they take risks, but they find a way to win.
The New York Enforcers have always found ways to win. We talk about the Diabolical. We talk about the Sisters of Suffering. We have all kinds of catchy names for them. But whatever you want to say about them, they always play together. They have an uncanny knack of, in their misery, I guess, staying together as a unit. Now, the other side of the ball, though, different story for the Florida Sundogs.
Are you a little surprised that the Florida Sundogs have not come back and replaced Posse and Suzanne Chalene on the roster? It's like they're penalizing themselves, skating shorthanded.
Well, you know what, Ken? As I mentioned last week, or several weeks ago, I was shocked by that because we saw the John Elways, Bill Barker, Captain America, and Denise Loden, the Barracuda, coming out last minute, just like John Elway does for his Denver Broncos in 2 minutes, pulling things out from the ashes. I was surprised when they beat the Hot Dice because of those 2 players. Now, I'm not going to bet against him again. It worked for him once. Hey, keep rolling with it.
And Buddy Atkinson Jr., the Florida Sundogs, are without their 2 fastest skaters. On the men, Posse Chalene, and last time, the tragic injury to Debbie Rice, breaking her wrist out indefinitely. What does that do to their psyche first, and then what does it do to their game plan?
Well, number one, the psyche is going to be a little roughed up. But I'll tell you what, the game plan has to change, and by that I mean they're going to have to get out there and use what they've got as often as they've got it, and they're going to have to bang away.
Well, there is no question that up until now, the game plan of the Florida Sundogs against the New York Enforcers has been to use speed to counteract the physical play of New York. They don't have that available to them anymore. We'll find out. Your music, the flames, here come the Florida Sundogs.
Florida Sundogs, I said I'm not going to bet against them, Ken, but how many times can Denise Loden step up for the Florida Sundogs, look for somebody else to have to get it done today? Sam Martin may be one of those. Who will it be? New York Enforcers, they have so many weapons, one of them of course being ugly, and Mark D'Amato still all excited about his success in getting the Chalenes out of the country apparently. But Janet Abraham of the Sisters of Suffering and Mark D'Amato, these guys always find a way to win, and you may call them ugly, you may call them mean, but these guys always play as a team and never have that team disunity that many teams do. Starting for the Florida Sundogs will be Andrea Franklin, Denise Loden, Lindsey Francis, Kathy Evangelo, and Gina Lombardo. And for the New York Enforcers, it's Janet Abraham, April Tootle, Karen Magnuson, Heather Gunnan, and Linda Leisure. And Ken, somebody in the truck is screaming to me that Tom Chaslick has a trackside announcement.
It is my honor to introduce the 2 newest citizens of the United States of America, Posse and Suzanne Chalene!
Hawk, I can't believe it. Did I hear right? You've got to be kidding me. Posse and Suzanne Chalene are back and dressed to skate this game.
And Ken D'Amato is absolutely incensed.
He can't believe it. Neither can we. Mark D'Amato, unbelievable. If ever the Sundogs needed a lift, having lost David Gleddy, having lost Debbie Wright, out of nowhere, look at D'Amato going berserk. But here are Posse and Suzanne Chalene, And you talk about some happy Florida Sundogs. I can't believe it.
Well, and this is a surreal scene. We remember a few weeks ago, Posse and Suzanne were carrying the Finnish flag, the flag of Finland, and now they're carrying, now as U.S. citizens, the U.S. flag. I tell you what, kid, I'm feeling patriotic right now.
Sam Martin is absolutely overjoyed, as is Denise Loden. They have really been forced to pick up the slack. Look at D'Amato. He can't believe it. He thought he was rid of one of his arch nemesis, Posse Chalene, and suddenly Posse is not only back, but back to a standing ovation.
And you see the absolute jubilation on the faces of Suzanne and Posse. This has been hanging over not only them in Suzanne and Posse, but the whole Sundog organization. Great turn of events. And they've wasted no time as Suzanne Chalene replaces Gina Lombardo in the starting lineup.
How appropriate as Suzanne Chalene starts wearing a jammer helmet for the Sundogs. You talk about an emotional high for this Florida team. Now also out leading the pack, April Tootle along with Heather Gunnan. But Suzanne Chalene is back. If you have missed it, if you just tuned in as she goes down from April Tootle, Suzanne and Posse Chalene, the newest American citizens, at back with this Sundog club, and boy, they need it. But right now, April Tootle and Heather Gunnan closing in on the pack. Laying back is Karen Magnus, and for the Enforcers, Kathy Evangelo back. Lindsey Francis never did get out of the pack, and they are able to get by Evangelo, and Gunnan very alertly calls off the jam as they each pass the dog 1 point apiece, 2-0 New York.
And if there's one team in the World Skating League that can deflate an emotional balloon like that the Sundogs are on, it's the New York Enforcers as they pick up 2 quick points.
2-0 New York. We're underway. Big Janet Abraham at the front of the back. Lindsey Francis, and now Denise Loden wearing a jammer helmet. Always keep your eye on her, and jamming for the Enforcers out. Karen Magnuson and Shelley Rossell. But look at Denise Loden fly around the track. Oh, as she got another gear, you could just feel the emotional high the Sundogs are on with the Chalene's back permanently. Finally, no cloud hanging over their head.
And don't forget the injured Debbie Rice. Obviously, Denise Loden is taking up for the injured Debbie Rice.
Loden sent Shelley Rossell into the rail. Now the big elbow slows Karen Magnuson. Goes right by Janet Abraham like she wasn't even there, and immediately cuts off the jam. A very happy Denise Loden, a very frustrated Janet Abraham.
And Denise Loden puts on a jammer helmet here. We know she can block. We know she's a spiritual leader. Well, she gets it done as a jammer, picks up a quick points for her team. We'll be back right after this. Big story today is American citizenship. Danny?
What a shock to the Roller Dam League. Florida Sundogs again. Posse Chalene, Suzanne Chalene, you're back. Denise Loden, you gotta be ecstatic.
This is the single best moment in Sundog history. I can't tell you how happy I am.
You guys are definitely America's team. It looks like you've got all the momentum you need now to beat them.
We've got the total package, and we're gonna go out there and win it, baby.
How does it feel to be Americans officially, Posse and Suzanne?
Oh, this is the greatest day in my life.
Oh, this is awesome. This is great. Thank you very much. One team, baby.
And from absolute joy to utter anger, the face of Mark D'Amato says it all, ladies and gentlemen.
And you've got to wonder if it was a little psychological move by the Sundogs, delaying the game for a little interview and team unity. All it did was incense the Enforcers, and certainly Mark D'Amato. Now breaking out Kathy Evangelo along with Shelley Rossell. Here again we see the importance of the addition of Suzanne Chalene, something the Sundogs could not do at the end of the first game. They have enough help to change jammers, rest one dog every single period right now. Denise Loden getting a rest. She'll be back, that's a guarantee. And over and down goes Kathy Evangelo. Now it's Gina Lombardo having to deal with Magnuson and Shelley Rossell. Not a very smart position, and Lombardo tries to stay right between the two of them, hoping if nothing else to slow him down. But oh, Lombardo runs into a brick wall by the name of Janet Abraham at 5'9", 200 pounds. 2 points for the New York Enforcers.
And we were talking about the New York Enforcers wanting to take the air out of the emotional balloon. Well, Janet Abraham did it with an exclamation point.
Again, we talked about Denise Loden right back on the track. The Sundog strategy with only one lady reserve. They try and west one every single jam. Now jamming for the Sundogs, taking the whip is Andrea Franklin. Now she gets another whip from Denise Loden. But going with her stride for stride is April Tootle as they come around the curve.
And it's going to be really important to see how the Sisters of Suffering diffuse this emotional high of the Sundogs, Ken. You know how these emotional things work. You're high, and the Sisters of Suffering are going to take it right out of their sails and make it low.
Well, right now, Andrea's sail takes all the wind out of April Tootle's sail as she sends her into the railing. The Enforcers are leading this one 4-1. 2.5 minutes to go. Andrea Franklin closing in on the pack. Just under 20 seconds to go. Now Lindsey Francis back to possibly help. Karen Magnuson drops back even further to try and deal with Franklin. Magnuson with the elbow. Andrea Franklin stays on her feet. Again goes high. Now Lindsey Francis trying to take out Magnuson. Francis went right around her as we are down and the time runs out on the jam. No points scored.
Well, no points were scored, Ken, but you could cut the tension in here with a knife here at Roller Jam Arena as Karen Magnuson and Denise Loden, respectively. We know they need no reason to get excited about just about anything. But as far as this immigration issue goes, our production people are telling me that they are putting together a very detailed history behind it and for why we saw the Chalenes reemerge today. Hopefully we'll have that for you at halftime.
I will be very curious indeed to find out just exactly what kind of evidence they indeed have. And what a bad move right now. Denise Loden got a little carried away. Unsportsmanlike conduct. The Sundog skating one short. And Loden, of course, is the worst Sundog to be in the penalty box.
And with this story, Ken, the way this thing has been fluid for the last several weeks, no telling what we're going to see at halftime.
And right now, Kathy Evangelo and Lindsey Francis jamming along with Heather Gunnan. Gunnan, you can see that hamstring all taped up. She's been favoring it now for a couple of weeks. Certainly not the normal Pan American gold medal winning speed we're used to seeing from Heather Gunnan as we approach 20 seconds on the jam. It's still 4-1 New York Enforcers. Now Janet Abraham takes down Andrea Franklin. Gunnan goes by, but so do the Sundogs. We'll have to wait for the official score here from referee Sean Corbin.
And he had a ton to sort out. Apparently, he's given the Florida Sundogs 10 and the New York Enforcers 5 on that jam, Ken. And that brings the Florida Sundogs into the lead with 11-9. And it said Janet Abraham and Denise Loden may be fighting over the score. Well, let's check out Roller Rules.
Roller Rules brought to you by Dial 1-800-AT&T for collect calls.
I'm Sean Corbin, head official of the World Skating League. I figured it's time you learn the rules from someone who actually knows the rules. The most important job for a referee is to determine how many points are scored on a jam. A point is scored every time a jammer laps an opposing skater. Here Denise Loden is passing members of the California Quakes. Although she passes them several times, she only receives 1 point for each one that's lapped. Here, Loden whips Debbie Rice past Brooke Sunderman. But before Rice falls off the jam, Sunderman passes her back. Does Rice get the point? Yes, she does. Because once she passes the other skater, the point is there for good. Now you know the rule.
It's the Florida Sundogs 11 and the New York Enforcers 9 in an emotionally charged battle.
It's the Florida Sundogs 11, the New York Enforcers 9. We're back as we get ready to begin the second period. The men are on the track. The Sundogs are certainly using the exuberance of the return of Posse and Suzanne Chalene. They lead one of the premier teams in the WSL. But Lee Rehrman, the New York Enforcers, boy, they play physical. They hit you.
Absolutely, and the honeymoon's over, Ken. I would have thought they'd be up by much more than 2 with the return of the Chalenes. But a big reason that they're not up by much more is physical play of Janet Abraham with the Abrahammer kaboom. Starting for the Florida Sundogs, it's Mike Tanner, Sam Martin, Tom Smith, Sean Marshall, and Captain America, Bill Barker. And for the New York Enforcers, it's John Morrissey, Big Tim Washington, Brian Gamble, the dubious Mark D'Amato, and Blaise Leon.
A very frustrated Mark D'Amato right now, not only because Posse Chalene is a U.S. citizen, but because the Sundogs, and I think smartly so, decided not to start Chalene at the beginning of this period. Right now, Blaise Leon just flying around the track for the New York Enforcers. At the skull, John Morrissey absolutely levels Tom Smith. as they continue to go around. Leon very quickly caught up to the back of the pack. Brian Gamble just hammers Captain America Bill Barker into the board. Leon picks up one very quickly. Now he tries to go to the inside of the pack, and he goes right by number 8 for the Florida Sundogs.
And Blaze Leon picks up 3 quick points to put his enforcers into the lead. Somebody we don't talk about, Blaze Leon. If he gets on track, the Sundogs are in trouble.
And it is 12-11, New York Enforcers in the lead. Now, finally out, Mark D'Amato in the front again, frustrated. Posse Chalene is yet to make an appearance. Breaking free is Sam Martin for the Florida Sundogs, being pursued by Rocky Bowman out of Cincinnati.
And you say frustrated by Mark D'Amato. Mark D'Amato isn't frustrated. Frustrated is when your coffee gets cold, Ken. He is absolutely, utterly incensed.
Great job of staying on his feet by Sam Martin. And now he sends Rocky Bowman right into the railing. And Barker allows Martin to go right by. Here's D'Amato waiting for Sam Martin. Perhaps he's trying to take his frustrations out on the flame. Oh, Martin goes right by him. D'Amato made the mistake, left the skates. Martin went right by him. Now Brian Gamble tried to clothesline and Martin ducked underneath. Now he's trying to get by Big Tim Washington. What a great jam, and he goes by Washington under D'Amato, still on his feet, and finally time runs out. What a jam by Sam the Flame Martin, 3 of the hardest earned points you will ever see.
And he wanted no part of Mark D'Amato after the play, and I don't quite blame him, but some players have great success against some teams, and Sam Martin is a player that has all the success in the world against Mark D'Amato and the New York Enforcers.
14-12, Florida Sundogs. This one about as physical as you will find anywhere. Talk about bad blood. There is no question now. Captain America Bill Barker at the front. Finally, Posse Chalene on the track wearing a Jammer's helmet. You know D'Amato is looking back. The only man he wants to get at is Posse Chalene. In fact, he lets the Florida First Jammer go by. Number 11, Jonathan Russell. D'Amato laying in wait. All he wants, and Posse Chalene is able to go right by him. Now down goes Russell. A golden opportunity for Rocky Bowman as he comes around. D'Amato laying back, calling signals. Now he goes by, lets Washington. Tim Washington just grabs one of the Sundogs, Mike Tanner, in a headlock. Slows him down, and finally Bowman crawls off the jam after picking up 2 more New York points to tie this one at 14 apiece.
And Rocky Bowman's somebody we don't talk about on this jam. We saw Blaze Leon score some points a couple of jams ago. These New York Enforcers may have just added some new guns to their arsenal, Ken.
3 minutes to go, 14 all, and Hawk, you can feel the frustration on D'Amato. He still really hasn't been able to get his hands on Chalene.
When we talk about D'Amato and his experience and the Enforcer's success, this might be one instance where he actually may play with the motion that gets him out of that focused intensity, and it may really hurt the Enforcers today, Ken.
Jonathan Russell and Posse Chalene both. Posse Chalene sends Cavani down. Guarantee you learned that in the National Hockey League with the Edmonton Oilers. Now they close around the pack. It'll be interesting to see what D'Amato does if he's willing to let Russell go by to zero in on Posse Chalene. A double whip, and D'Amato nails Russell. Now here it is. It's Chalene and D'Amato. Chalene sends D'Amato out and over the railing. Some retribution for our newest citizen. He does the same to Tim Washington. Cuts off the jam. That's the example right there why the Sundogs were so excited about getting Posse Chalene back to Florida Sundog points.
Posse Chalene enjoying a little bit of a scoring spree here in his first moments back in the World Skating League. He passed D'Amato, passed Washington, did not pass Gamble before he touched the track.
16-14, New York Enforcers trailing the Sundogs by 2. Hawk, there's no question, Florida on an emotional high. The key is going to be, can they sustain this for the entire match?
Well, we saw for weeks and weeks this whole thing playing out. You saw Posse and Suzanne Chalene with an emotional lift early in the game. They faded late. I wonder, though, this is such an exceptional emotional high for them. They may be able to keep it all game, Ken. This is really getting interesting.
Right now, Tom Smith and Sam Martin the only two jammers out. What a great opportunity for the Sundogs. And take a look at Bill Barker just hammering away on Tim Washington, and both the Sundog jammers go right by Washington. Boy, has Florida got their act seemingly all together right now. And Bill Barker nails D'Amato, slows him down, and comes down the old monkey flip. And Barker, now Tim Washington trying to go after Barker. But meanwhile, the Sundogs are putting points on the board. And we're down to the last 4 seconds of the jam, but a great final jam for these Florida Sundogs as they put 5 big points on the board.
And again, Sam Martin had a good jam, as did Posse Chalene. It's the Sam Martin Posse Chalene show.
And what a half for the Florida Sundogs as they lead this one by 7, 21-14. Absolutely unbelievable. Florida Sundogs 21, the New York Enforcers 14 at halftime, and there is absolutely no question the sudden dramatic return of Posse and Suzanne Chalene has certainly buoyed the Florida Sundogs to a 7-point lead over the New York Enforcers, obviously one of the premier teams of the World Skating League. Certainly tremendous kudos to the play of Denise Loden, and boy, I'll tell you, Lee Rehrman, Sam Martin has really stepped it up big for Florida.
Well, earlier in the game, I said the honeymoon's over when the Enforcers were only down by 2, but somebody forgot to tell Sam Martin. And in that second period, Ken, he was a one-man wrecking crew. We saw him similar to what he did earlier in the season. We see these New York Enforcers, the 5-borough lineup. Well, Sam Martin's a cab. He's going through Manhattan, a little bit of the Bronx. There he is, over there. Oh, my goodness. And at the end there, Ken, we're even going to see a little Staten Island ferry. Sam Martin, man on a mission. This 5-borough lineup has always had trouble with him. They forgot to tell him the honeymoon was over.
There's no question Sam Martin using his speed and agility to avoid the physical play of the New York Enforcers. As I said a moment ago, the Florida Sundogs needed a lift. They have lost Debbie Rice indefinitely, perhaps for the entire season, with a wrist broken in 3 places. It was a sudden and dramatic return for Posse and Suzanne Chalene, now the newest American citizens. While all this was going on, our staff was putting together a feature on just what has transpired as of late with Posse and Suzanne Chalene, now American citizens.
This was the scene earlier today as Judge Carol Madison gave Posse and Suzanne Chalene the oath of U.S. citizenship. It was a triumphant end to a saga that began when Mark D'Amato presented these documents.
Posse and Suzanne Chalene are indeed illegal aliens.
The papers had the Chalenes on the verge of imminent deportation until a patriotic soul stepped forward from the crowd.
Well, what happened was I saw this suspicious guy, and you don't forget a guy who looks like that.
This security camera footage convinced the INS that the papers had been faked by D'Amato himself, opening the door for the Chalenes' new citizenship.
This is no doubt the happiest day in my life. We are so proud to be American citizens.
Their nightmare has ended and turned into a dream, the American dream.
There he is, Mark D'Amato. Hey, Mark D'Amato, you've been hiding from me the whole first half. Now we saw the piece. I knew it. You falsified the documents the whole time. Helsinki, Sweden. Don't you know your geography, D'Amato?
Listen, I want an attorney here. I'm not talking until I get an attorney.
You know, as a broadcaster, you like to try and stay as unbiased as possible, but I have to say, having the opportunity to get to know Posse and Suzanne Chalene, they are really terrific people, and I, for one, am very glad that they are back in this country. Lee?
Well, absolutely. We've talked all season, or actually since Mark D'Amato started this nightmare for the Florida Sundogs, for Suzanne and Posse Chalene, and of course for the World Skating League, for crying out loud. They're great people. They're family people. It's a tribute and an honor to have them not only back with the Sundogs, back in the World Skating League, but back in this country permanently.
And we can't forget, we're at halftime of a very key game here in the World Skating League. The Florida Sundogs leading the Enforcers 21-14. Buddy Atkinson, I was a little surprised the way the Sundogs have come on, but I think it all started back in that women's first period. A couple of unlikely jammers put some big points on the board. Take us through it.
Really did, too. And it's a broken play. Gunn should have been moving in here a little bit closer and in the side. She didn't. What happened, she has to take this route out here, which sets her way in. The two ladies moved through the inside. Kathy and Lindsay are going to score big, and I mean big. And now we've got Gunn having to scoot back down in behind them, and you can see right away she scored, but Lindsay and Kathy scored big.
You know, buddy, we have talked about it so many times, the philosophy of the Florida Sundogs, teamwork, team unity. We would obviously have expected it to be Denise Loden and certainly the return of Suzanne Chalene, but here's a prime example. It's Kathy Evangelo and Lindsey Francis that really lit the fire under the Dogs.
This team has a lot of excellent players that step up when necessary. And I'll tell you something, I'm amazed at how versatile all of them are.
One thing we have learned, though, the Sundogs might be up by 7 points, but you can never, ever count out the New York Enforcers. We'll be back with the second half right after.
Are down by 7, Ken, and remember, the New York Enforcers do not play catch-up well.
On the whistle, on the whistle.
Right now, the Florida Sundogs have to feel that everything's going their way. A 7-point lead, their two teammates back permanently. Gina Lombardo on along with Shelley Rossell, Kathy Evangelo, and Linda Leisure are your jammers as we start from the starting line, the racehorse start. Shelley Rossell with the elbow to Gina Lombardo. No effect whatsoever. Lombardo again with that low center of gravity. What a move. Kathy Evangelo takes down Linda Leisure, who in turn takes down her own teammate Shelley Rossell.
And the Pledge of Allegiance from earlier gave me goosebumps. I think the Sundog women feel the same way, Ken.
And right now, here they come. Lombardo goes around Abraham. Evangelo goes right around Abraham. She never touched him. Now remember, even though Abraham went back by her, once the points are on the board, they stay on the board. So Evangelo now cuts off the jam. Very heads up play by Kathy Evangelo as she saw Leisure and Rossell closing. But the Florida Sundogs add 3 more points to the scoreboard, and it is 24-14, a double-digit lead for them Dogs.
And it should be no surprise to anyone that these Florida Sundogs are taking that emotional high and building on that lead, Ken.
And now Kathy Evangelo keeps the jammer helmet, and it goes to Lindsey Francis. She takes a big whip from Andrea Franklin, being pursued immediately by Shelley Rossell. The Enforcers better be careful. The emotional high the Sundogs are on, they can't let this one get too far out of hand. Rossell with a knee, a good job by Lindsey Francis of keeping her skates underneath her and her balance. They continue to flail away. Rossell elbow after elbow. Francis staying right on her skates. And now Francis returns in favor. But a smart move, Shelley Rossell, whether it was inadvertent or not, as she went down, got her skate out and tangled up Francis, so they both get up at the same time. 20 seconds coming around on the jam clock, and they're still a good half a lap behind the pack. And this is what the Sundogs need.
And this is an enforcer kind of game, Ken. We talk so much about Mark D'Amato and the frustration with the immigration department. We have not talked much about the Sisters of Suffering. And Shelley Rossell and these girls are going to have something to say before the game's over today.
And right now, as we go down, Denise Loden with a final elbow into Shelley Rossell. The jam expires, no points on the board, and the Dogs retain that 10-digit lead. Right now, a slow skating game with a 10-point lead favors the Sundogs, certainly not the Enforcers.
Well, and these Enforcers have a real tough time playing catch-up, and you see the frustration on behalf of Karen Magnus, and as you do Shelley Rossell, it doesn't look good for the Enforcers.
And we're underway once again, and now Heather Gunnan puts on the jammering helmet for the New York Enforcers. They need whatever speed she can give them, even though she's got that bad hamstring. And Gina Lombardo breaks free. Janet Abraham gives a big whip to Heather Gunnan to try and get her some speed, and Gunnan seems to be closing in on Lombardo.
And Heather Gunnan will catch up fast. Remember, Debbie Rice was hurt. She's usually the one that has the same speed as Heather Gunnan. Gina does not have it like Debbie Rice does.
And Gunnan with the elbow slows Gina Lombardo, but here comes Denise Loden at the back of the pack. She may have something to say to Heather Gunnan, and she does it with an elbow to the midsection and the forearm across the shoulders, and just drops Heather Gunnan like a bad habit. And to add insult to injury, sends Magnuson over the railing. No points, 6 skaters on the track, 1 too many. Sean Corbin calls off the points. Tough break right there for the Sundogs.
Well, it's a tough break because the Sundogs had a golden opportunity to blow this wide open, but you saw 6 players, 6 is too many.
Denise Loden serving a 1-jam penalty. Too many skaters on the track for the Florida Sundogs. Hawk had been so long since Florida had any reserve, they probably have stopped counting skaters.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They're not used to having anybody extra. In fact, they're usually looking for somebody of the women to play for the men, for crying out loud.
And now, skating around, jamming, this is Andrea Franklin for the Sundogs and Linda Leisure for the New York Enforcers. Leisure, the smaller but more physical and dirty of the two players. Franklin with a knee tried to slow Leisure, and Leisure did a good job of keeping her balance. Now an elbow from Leisure, a forearm from Franklin. Very physical jam as these two are going at it tooth and nail. Now Franklin with a slim lead. Leisure closes on the inside to regain it. Franklin tries to take the inside, and Leisure cuts her off. Janet Abraham, oh, take a look. What a heads-up play by Andrea Franklin. Sends Linda Leisure into her own teammate. Franklin passes up. Abraham puts 1 point on the board.
Abraham time. And these New York Enforcers and Janet Abraham, we know Janet Abraham can dole out the punishment. I didn't think she planned on doling it out to her own teammate, though, Ken. And these New York Enforcers have seen a long day.
25-14 Sundogs as we approach 1 minute. I'll tell you, Hawk, there's no question, Suzanne and Posse Chalene very patriotic, but if they try and throw a silver dollar over the track, I'm going to be wondering what exactly is going on. Nice reference to George Washington. Now Lindsey Francis and arrested Denise Loden. She served the penalty for too many skaters on the track, and it's Heather Gunnan and Karen Magnuson.
Well, Ken, at the next break, I'm going to put my red, white, and blue thong underwear on for you, buddy.
Oh, that's a sight I don't even want to conjure up in my worst nightmare. Lindsey Francis and Denise Loden. Loden and Magnuson going at it. Heather Gunnan laying back, I think hoping Magnuson will take out Loden. And take a look, Denise Loden. Oh, a double reverse bulldog. What a move by Loden. Lindsey Francis weaving her way through the entire, trying to go through the entire pack, cut it up. Now Loden battling both the enforcers, getting help from Lombardo.
And I think our cameraman is as into this game as the skaters are and as we are, Ken. He got so close we couldn't make out what the heck he was shooting down there. But the fans are pumped, we're pumped, and I know Denise Loden is pumped. Even with a jammer helmet on, she can dole out punishment to the New York Enforcers. Denise Loden's always setting a precedent here in the World Skating League, but it's the Sundogs up by plenty and the Enforcers getting beat. We'll be back.
The New York Enforcers 14 and the Florida Sundog women completely shut down the New York Enforcers, not giving up a single point during the entire third period. Unbelievable.
Well, it was enforcer-esque type defense by those Sundogs that's keeping them in it, Ken.
And now the Sundogs start out the fourth and final period, barring overtime. One man short, Sean Corbin called a holding penalty on Denise Loden. That, of course, according to WSL rules, carries over. And also, by the way, waved off all the points because Loden had been called for holding. That canceled out the jam. And there you see sitting in the penalty box, Mike Tanner serving it. 25-14. And look at D'Amato trying to tie up. And the Enforcers tie up the entire Florida Sundog pack as Blaise Leon and Dan Giovanni go by everybody and pick up 10 points. Remember, that's 4 points apiece for the skaters on the track and 2 points as, according to WSL rules, you get when you pass the entire pack, any points for skaters in the penalty box. Very alert call, and suddenly the Enforcers are right back in it, 25-24.
And I'm one of the many people here in the arena who thought that they were dead, Ken, but they came out 10 quick points back in it.
Well, as they say, Hawk, it's a brand new ball game.
And these guys, Mark D'Amato, I've got to take my hat off to him. You may think he's a goofball, you may think he's silly, but he has a way of getting these mutants to play and win.
Tom Smith now goes past by Rocky Bowman. A late addition has proved to be a very valuable one to this New York Enforcer team. They go head-to-head, and laying at the back of the pack, D'Amato and Brian Gamble awaiting Tom Smith. And I don't know about you, but that's not a greeting committee that I would certainly welcome. But oh, a great move by Smith, eliminates Bowman, and now he's got Sean Marshall back to help him. Here comes Brian Gamble. Big elbow right below the chin. Legal in the WSL, but certainly very close. Marshall now with a double whip. Oh, Tom Smith goes right between D'Amato and Gamble. What a great move by Tom Smith, picking up 2 Florida Sundog points. It's now 27-24 Dogs.
And you got to really respect the courage of these Florida Sundogs. These New York Enforcers have caught up like a freight train, and these Florida Sundogs are hanging tough as Tom Smith scores 2 quick points to extend that lead to 3.
Great, very important points right there for the Florida Sundogs. We've talked about so many times how these New York Enforcers come on at the last minute. They had that big 10-point rush, and certainly the 3 points at least temporarily have stemmed the tide. Now, Posse, Chalene, and Dan Giovanni, you hear the crowd chanting, Posse, Posse. Giovanni goes down. Chalene spins around once as if to say, don't worry about me.
But look who's laying back there, Ken. Mark D'Amato, the immigration specialist, the civic duty Mark D'Amato, waiting for Posse Chalene.
And now Posse Chalene discussing strategy with Captain America, Bill Barker. What they're going to do, here's how they're going to deal with D'Amato. Bill Barker goes for the butt block. He missed. D'Amato goes on the infield. Chalene with the elbow sends D'Amato into the railing. Oh, how sweet that has got to be for Posse Chalene as he gets a chance to face and nail his accuser. Brian Gamble spins away courtesy of Captain America. Chalene hops over him, calls off the jam after putting 3 more points on the board. 30-24 Dogs.
And Posse Chalene, who was the man of the hour at the beginning of the game, Ken, goes right after Mark D'Amato. Of course, we all know the story of Mark D'Amato and his so-called civic duty. Well, Posse Chalene didn't like it, and we saw what the result of that was. He scores 3 quick points, extends the lead for his Florida Sundogs. Posse Chalene is not only a citizen, but a great skater here in the World Skating League. Florida Sundogs are clinging to a 6-point lead at 30-24, but how many times have we seen these New York Enforcers always get it done? I mean, it was just a few games ago that we saw Tim Washington don a jammer helmet, Ken, and score, I believe, 10 points for his New York Enforcers to eke out a victory. Mark D'Amato and the boys always find a way.
And what a move by Jonathan Russell. He sends John Morrissey into the infield. Morrissey tried to go across. Sean Corbett getting ready to wave it off. But since Morrissey fell flat on his face, he let it go. Now D'Amato just nails Russell. Russell back up. D'Amato, they're setting up the King Kong. Right, no, he went low this time. Absolutely clotheslined him right around the waist. Sean Corbett, though, calls off the jam. No points. Right now, the biggest enemy the Enforcers have, the clock.
And Captain America, Bill Barker, caught Tim Washington while he was celebrating. But hey, Tim Washington, this King Kong stuff is great, but you can't win if you don't score.
A minute and 15 seconds to go. The Sundogs clinging to a 6-point lead. Sam Martin and Posse Chalene. Martin goes right underneath D'Amato and Washington. Breaks free. Could the Sundogs unseat the Enforcers? Sam Martin right now the only jammer out. Under 1 minute to play. What an opportunity for Florida. Taking a look at the Enforcers setting up the Wall Street. Oh! Martin unable to get by at all. As the Enforcers continue. Martin trying to take another run minus his helmet. Unable to do it. Look at a double whip. Posse Chalene. Submarines underneath. The move Franklin used. Posse Chalene. Submarines goes underneath the entire New York Enforcers. Picks up 5 Florida Sundog points. 35-24. The clock is counting down.
And Mark D'Amato pounds the track as Posse Chalene, the injured David Clenny of the Florida Sundogs, drape themselves in the American flag. But Ken, I gotta say, the New York Enforcers did not even send a jammer out of that last jam. The Wall Street didn't matter. They were trying to punish the Florida Sundogs. Even that backfired. Danny?
What an amazing finish. Oh, what a game. You know what it was like? On D-Day, the beaches of Normandy, Posse Chalene, the true American, going under enemy forces, scoring the victory, and you guys have just been embarrassed. You guys, look at you, got the agony of defeat in your eyes. Don't you say anything? Brian Gamble, you guys were embarrassed by the Sundogs and Posse.
Quit with the freaking embarrassing, okay? There was nothing embarrassing about that loss. I'm just sorry we didn't have the chance to break up their little sissy little Chalene reunion. They're going to be partying all night, but, you know, tell you what, buddy, it's going to be short-lived.
And let me ask you, Tim Washington, Mark D'Amato actually is not even here. Where is D'Amato? This guy's got to be so ashamed. Not only did he blow the game, but...
There's no shame in our game. None.
And how about D'Amato?
I really don't appreciate you saying stuff like this right now.
But he falsified the documents.
What?
You got a lot
Every man is innocent until proven guilty.
Well, D'Amato said he's going to get an attorney, and I don't know. Dangerous Dan, what a sham D'Amato is. What a sham your team.
It wasn't D'Amato. It's that Kinko puppy fan. He's a Sundog fan, that's all.
You're one of... All right, Enforcers, you guys lost, and you got a lot of trouble on your hand with D'Amato, so why don't you go find him?
You're going to lose your teeth in a minute to keep up with the ashamed and the embarrassed comments. Beat it, punk.
Okay, that's it. Back to you, Ken and Hawk.
Certainly, we're all overjoyed for Posse and Suzanne Chalene, and of course, the entire Florida Sundog team. A big 35-24 win. Buddy Atkinson, what a great emotional way to finish it out, close out the Enforcers. But if we can, take us through and analyze that play as only you can do, my friend.
Fantastic play. The wall, street, there it is. Nobody gets past. And I'm telling you something, these guys had it all, they were ready. And then all of a sudden, slide for life, Posse comes shooting through there. And this is what I love. This is unbelievable. Posse's happy as heck. You can see this. And what does he do? He comes back and does the big one. Kills D'Amato.
I'd certainly talk about adding insult to injury, beating him all the way around. And Hawk, I know you went crazy during that eliminator from Posse Chalene. Turnabout is fair play.
Well, I'm trying to get my clothes back on. I'm so excited.
I wish you would, please.
But I tell you, for once, I handicapped the game correctly. I said the Sundogs would win. I don't care if I have an asterisk by it because we didn't know the Chalenes were going to show up. Great job for the Sundogs. Great job for the World Skating League. And the best thing is it's so fun to watch Mark D'Amato lose. Woo!
For all of us at Roller Jam, I'm Ken Resnick saying have a great week. So long, everybody.